I wasn't sure what to expect as far as pollen, but when I rushed out the door into that warm spring morning, I got brought up short by the sight of cherry blossoms drifting through the air. Had to stand there for a while just drinking it in. After watering, I started clearing around the edges of the property. Bushes, branches, rocks, anything I could find. And I found a mushroom. It looked weird, all covered in holes. I certainly wasn't about to eat it, but I figured Pierre might buy it, and maybe teach me the word for it as well. Tried to have a go at some of the larger stumps, but my axe wouldn't make a dent in them. Guess it wasn't sharp enough? Figured nobody was going to mind if I cleared up a bit of the forest, as long as I wasn't chopping any trees. So I went after weeds, branches, and stone, hoping to find a few seeds while I was at it, which I did, along with a leek, a couple of flowers, and a new geode. I was glad to be finding geodes. Vincent's birthday was coming up, and a cool rock formation seemed like just the thing for a young boy. En route to the Cebolletas, I noticed Haley by the lake, with a camera. I had a sudden chilling fear about winding up in a photo that somehow made it to the city, where they knew what I'd done, where maybe, despite our best efforts, I'd been caught on camera during the heist. I hurried on, hoping that Haley didn't manage to capture my face. Linus was out by the upper lake again. Said he lived in the open air by choice. Me, I'd never had a choice. I didn't even have the choice to stay where I was. Sooner or later, people here were going to learn about the heist, and I'd be on the run again. The farm let me survive for the moment, but discovery was inevitable. It was only a matter of time. With that truth weighing on my soul, I finally headed into town. Lewis was in the square, looking over the town with satisfaction. It's a good temperature for thinking in the garden? I noticed that Pierre was selling a backpack. $20 seemed awfully cheap, but he said something about his daughter getting a new one, which made more sense. For being used, it looked to be in good shape, and it was a lot bigger than my current backpack. I hope nobody else set their eyes on it before I could raise that much. Talked with Leah for a bit. The trees are really beautiful today, aren't they? She asked me why I'd elegisted the farm, and I wouldn't have been able to figure that out, except that Linus had used the word elección earlier, so it was still on my mind. Choice. Why had I chosen the farm? I fumbled my way through a response about getting away from my old life, and that seemed to resonate with her. With the stone I'd found, I fixed up a bit more of the path. By then it was getting dark, so I decided to try more dumpster diving. The fortune teller had said that the spirits were in good humor today. I'd never made up my mind about whether or not to believe in that kind of stuff, but I figured it couldn't hurt. On the edge of town, I found a couple of buildings that I hadn't been inside yet. I resolved to check them in the morning, and quietly went through their trash before heading on. As I got to the middle of town, I heard someone else going through the garbage cans, and apparently annoying some old guy in a wheelchair. He called me over and asked me to do a favor for this old man, but I couldn't really make out the rest, aside from Mola's star, which finally clicked. It meant something like bother or trouble, and those bulletin posts were saying, if it's not too much trouble. Anyway, I figured he wanted me to stop whoever was looting through the garbage cans. It turned out to be Linus, who swiftly apologized. I find a lot of food that's fresh and hot, things that are thrown out and lost if I don't take them. Then he asked me if I thought he was bad for doing this. I didn't quite have the words, but I guess it came across in my expression. He seemed grateful that I wasn't judging him. Said something about an open mind, but it's just that I was used to surviving in any way possible. Going through people's trash was nothing new to me. Linus said he didn't feel bad for doing this, that he wasn't hurting anyone, and I pretty much agreed. I hadn't quite left when I overheard him going through the can next to the saloon, and then I overheard the owner confronting him, but it turned out to be better than I expected. Wait, I know what you're doing. If you need food, you only have to ask. I don't want anyone in Pelican Town to go hungry. Then, I was peeking at them from over near the general store, he handed over a plate of food. The saloon owner seemed like a good man. I didn't even know his name yet. I'd bought lunch from him a couple times, but we hadn't really talked. And now it seemed like it was in my best interest to befriend him if I could. Glad that Linus wouldn't go hungry, I headed home.